Hi, everybody. This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on June the 27th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got a lot of great information for you tonight. Let's go ahead and click over here, Murtech on Rumble. This is the video you're watching right now, my live stream, episode 1607. Let's share this out here. Hi, Debbie BS. Glad you could join us. All right, let's just scroll on down here and expand the description box. We have information from ACLJ Sekulow, Devory Darkins, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell. Fridays with Wendy. All right, before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Samarabba AI91, I think that is. Follow my channel. Digital Expert 72. Follow my channel. R.L. Fuller Jr. just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. Oops. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay. Fisher C45 gave me a comment on my episode 1604. Debbie BS and Susan 080 gave me a comment on my episode 1605. Debbie BS commented on my extra 391A. Digital Expert and Debbie BS gave me a comment on my extra 391B. And Debbie BS gave me a comment on my extra 391C. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I greatly enjoy reading your input, and I appreciate your support. So let me go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. All right. Let's come over here and see what ACLJ Sekulow has to say. Go ahead and open this up. Share this link and keep your fingers crossed that the audio comes through. Let me get it back to the beginning for you.
Of course, we are still talking about the conversation, the Pentagon. They went back and forth, and what's going on? Well, because Pete Hegseth says, hey, he pretty much came out and made a moment revealing really what happened about Operation Midnight Hammer, revealing, look, they're having to really go out of their way now to try to debunk claims that this did not work.
Right.
However, that is only because the press has done this to them. And people who just want to really devalue President Trump and the Trump administration, that's their whole plan. And if their whole plan is that, well, it's sad that we have to have a point where Pete Hegseth has to go out on the defense of this over and over day after day.
Yeah, it's hard to declare victory and talk about the victory when the media is so quick to undermine it before the dust has even settled on Fordo. So what we're seeing here now is both General Kane as well as Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, pushing back, doing a press conference, an early morning press conference, not normal for what you see out of the Pentagon, but pushing back on these claims and these leaks. They're also pointing to the CIA and the Director of National Intelligence that it's now their role to gather the intelligence of what the successes were in the Fordo strike. But they also have to go forward and show, unfortunately, how successful things were, like the conversion plant, where without that, they can't turn the uranium gas into uranium metal to put on a warhead. And these things that keep being brought up and up and up by this fake news media trying to declare a failure instead of a victory.
I think it's an opportunity to hear from Pete Hegseth himself. Let's go and listen to this. Look, it's a bit of a long bite, but again, I always make sure you have full context of what's going on. Here's Pete.
Or bring us to the topic of the moment, the highly successful strikes in Iran. Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful.
I hate that Hegseth has to do this.
Right.
I really do. Because when I watched that moment unfold, President Trump came out with Pete by his side, Marco Rubio, and I said, you know what? President Trump picked the right guys for this job. Pete took a lot of heat, unnecessary heat. And look what he was able to do. Only people with that kind of military expertise who really have been there, know it, could have done something like that. This is the Iranian government that has been in control since the 70s, who have been hurting their own people, and we all know this. Kamala Harris said the number one threat to America was Iran a few months ago. Okay, this isn't political or partisan, but because there is a Trump administration, it will become political and partisan. Our brave soldiers flew from Missouri to Iran, a 19-hour flight, multiple refuels midair, dropped precision strike bombs, and now got out of there before anyone even knew they were there, and you're going to try to discredit them? Not on our watch. That's not going to happen here. But that is precisely what the news is.
That's right. And just to show how correct that Pete Hegseth was in those attacks on the media, pushing back at their reporting, this is a piece that came out last night. I saw it late at night from the New York Times. Rubio fleshes out Trump's case that Iran nuclear capacity was eliminated. Then here's the subheadline to it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said U.S. strikes had destroyed a facility that is key to turning highly enriched nuclear fuel into a working bomb. He railed against a less optimistic U.S. intelligence report. Okay, so that's the framing of the article. That's the headline, subheadline. A few paragraphs down, there is this paragraph written by someone at the New York Times who clearly has an agenda to politicize this and make sure that it seems like Trump is a liar and a failure. Mm-hmm. Listen to this. By the end of his trip to the Netherlands, Mr. Trump seemed as focused on proving he has obliterated, in quotes, Iran sites as he once was on proving he had the largest inauguration crowd. They are comparing the argument with President Trump. Everyone knew he loved to talk about the inauguration crowd, that is the same thing as him talking about taking out an existential threat to the United States and Israel, an Iranian nuclear program. They are trying to say that he claiming victory and success is a vanity project for him.
I'll tell you what, this mainstream media, there has to be some changes in it. The problem is some people actually believe they're lying asses.
They are trying to diminish the work of the U.S. military and the extremely well thought out plan. And we're getting to that in a little bit too, because General Raisin Kane, he talked about how detailed, how long the U.S. military has been studying this and focusing on Fordo. And the New York Times journalist tries to make a cute reference to the inauguration crowd argument and turn that as an analogy to the president of the United States saying, we have taken out Iran's nuclear capability. One is a crowd size and the other is national security. When they say these journalists should lose their jobs, how did this get past an editor? Do they think that's funny? Do they think American national security is a hilarious joke?
In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate. For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordow, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night when they slept. They thought about it driving back and forth to work, and they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose.
And that is what led to the development of the bunker busting bomb, because he could tell based off the soil that was coming out how far deep in that mountain it was. Based off the ventilation equipment, everything. This is an individual, an American, a brave American that couldn't talk about this with his family. He worked with one other person on this for 15 years and knew everything there is to know about this secret site and how to attack it. And we developed the weapons, and that's exactly what the President of the United States deployed on that site just a few days ago. And the media is going to sit here and try to lecture the world that maybe we're not that effective and only do one thing: help out the Ayatollahs with their PR campaign.
All right, folks, there you have it. It's amazing, this mainstream media, how, I don't know, just Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, as you can see, this does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I am following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing to me. All right, let's come back here, and what we have next is information from Devory Darkins. CNN suffers humiliating setback after Iran confirms damage to nuclear sites. Now, this is kind of like yesterday, this information, and what today, I guess, there have been 3 Supreme Court decisions that have definitely gone in Donald Trump's favor. So I don't have any information on that, but in my daily news wrap-up, the live stream that I will start probably about 9:30 tonight, we have a lot of great information in it. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and see what Devory Darkins has to say about CNN, one of our favorites.
It goes without saying, of course, the pilots and service members involved in this mission deserve honor and respect for carrying out a dangerous, risky mission assigned by their commander-in-chief. And if it turns out that Iran's nuclear program was not completely obliterated, as the president asserts it was, that doesn't mean it was a failure on part of the pilots. The bunker buster bombs they dropped had never been used before, and there was always a question as to how much damage they could actually do. No one is questioning whether this was a heroic and valiant effort on behalf of the United States. The key questions for the American people and the world are simply about the degree of success of the operation and the current state of Iran's nuclear weapons program, and what the intelligence, not the politicians, what the intelligence reveals. Our obligation as journalists is not to praise President Trump or protect his feelings or to disparage him or to praise him for that matter. Our obligation is to report facts. In this case, the fact is that an initial DIA intel assessment out of Secretary Pete Hegseth's own Pentagon exists.
Start off this video by hearing this rant from Fake Tapper. Okay, this is a guy who's cashing in on Joe Biden's mental decline, but didn't even apply that same standard that he's crying about in this video about how journalists, our job is to get to the truth and report the facts. Where was that under Joe Biden? You went along with the border was secure. You went along that he was sharp as a tack. And now you're selling a book that all those statements were false. And then you come out and you have the galls to say, oh yeah, we're just trying to report the facts surrounding these military airstrikes. You guys don't even have the facts. You have bits and pieces like we covered in our prior video. And then you allow this fake news reporter who's responsible for the Hunter Biden laptop hoax to push this story out. You guys are a joke.
It's not going to change, no matter how many insults Trump levels. A lot of insults, by the way. In a Truth Social post, he calls CNN and the New York Times, quote, bad and sick people. The administration casts any reporting on any questioning on the success of an incredibly difficult military operation as fake, as unappreciative, and as disrespectful to service members. But that, however, flies in the face of what journalists have hopefully learned throughout the last 50 years of U.S. history.
Now, instead of me launching more insults at CNN and Fake Tapper, let's just get to the heart of the matter here. Okay, there's a difference of opinion between President Trump and CNN as pertains to the meaning of obliteration. According to President Trump, obliteration means that not only did we take out their nuclear sites, but we took out what was essential for them to be able to build a nuclear weapon. According to CNN, they want to see scorched earth in the photos and videos. It's almost as if they don't even believe what the military has reported in the airstrikes. They casted doubt every step of the way. Now, let's throw something in here that I believe to be fascinating. The spokesperson for Iran's foreign minister just came out and had this to say.
I'm going to insist on this a little bit more. What remains operational today as far as Iran's nuclear program?
I have nothing to add on this matter because it's a matter of technical issue. Our Atomic Energy Organization and other relevant agencies are working on that. But yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged. That's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
I bet he's one of those mega guys and is just coming out and saying that because he supports Donald Trump. What do you think?
The interesting detail that's been kind of swept under the rug here is that this assessment report, according to the Pentagon, was marked low confidence and tentative, meaning, hey, we don't really have enough information to even put this out, but we got to put something out. I mean, if that doesn't tell you why what CNN is doing is just totally wrong, I don't know what will. A tentative report that is marked low confidence is what CNN ran with. And the whole network for 24 to 48 hours was all about how the military airstrikes were ineffective.
Let's bring in Fox News chief political analyst Britt Hume. Britt, good evening. You know, there's a lot of this back and forth, but there are kind of broader issues here to look at about the strike and the fallout from it.
Well, Brett, the best thing you can say about that preliminary report that leaked out yesterday was that it was very, very tentative and very, very early, and it was marked as low confidence. There's only so much you can know about underground damage from massive bombing in the 48 or 72 hours after it happens, because in order to really know, you'd have to be in there. And nobody within the reach of the Defense Intelligence Agency that I've ever heard of would be in a position to assess that. But we had reporters working on this story, one in particular who works for CNN, who is a person who fell for the Steele dossier hook, line, and sinker, who wrote that the Hunter Biden laptop bought into the story that was Russian disinformation. And so she wasn't working for CNN at the time. It's not clear to me how she ever got a job there, but CNN took her anyway, and now she's doing this kind of stuff. So, I think that the subsequent intelligence reports we've heard about are more reliable, but, this all has to await a longer-term situation in which somebody's going to have to get in there and really find out. But the Iranians themselves were saying today that their nuclear program was badly damaged. So maybe we ought to rest with that.
You guys know I'm a bottom line, results driven type of guy. I don't care what you call it. Badly damaged, severely damaged, obliterated, destroyed, dismantled, whatever word you want, CNN. But in the end, what I want to know for sure, did we damage Iran's ability to build nuclear weapons? Yes or no? That's all that really matters.
I think you also have to understand that initial reports are often based on the initial information received by analysts at the time. And this was very early on after the attacks were being reviewed. So the analysts at the time may not have even known the complete extent to which the Israelis and the United States had conducted all of their attacks. And keep in mind, we're talking about attacks at multiple sites. So what does that mean? So if you look at a site and you say moderate to severe damage, well, at the Iraq plutonium facility, it appears that the Israelis have destroyed the reactor. But based upon imagery, I understand that the heavy water facility next door has moderate damage. So you could have in a sentence the phrase moderate to severe damage. But your final assessment for the site would be that reactor is finished. It's not going to be making a plutonium weapon in the near future.
So we're literally okay. So now we're in the weeds and talking about semantics, right? I mean, again, yeah. And that's the type of response and intelligence CNN should be discussing more often, not the way they handle it when the airstrikes went down in the preceding 48 hours. It was just disgusting coverage, to say the least. And then again, we go back to the reporter who published the story. It's just heartbreaking. And now we can go to our next story, which is just as troubling in my opinion, and quite frankly has been flying under the radar because I've been so focused on this prior story. And that is what happened last night in New York City in regards to the Democrat primary to become the mayor of NYC. Let's hear who won and why it is so troubling.
Democrat who holds office in the country woke up to the possibility of a primary challenge next year because of what happened last night in New York City. Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old state assemblyman, 3 terms, Democratic socialist, is going to be the Democratic nominee in the largest city in America, New York City's mayoral race in November. The results of this race, and not take a step back and look at what this means, not just for the future of the Democratic Party in this country, but I would even say more importantly, the existential question of whether that party, the opposition party, the pro-democracy party at this moment, is up to the task that this moment demands.
If you're a conservative, I'm sure you're thinking, what does this story have to do with us? Especially people on the right or people who support Trump. Well, I'm going to explain it to you. But first, let's start with a question I want you to answer in the comment section. As conservatives or people on the right, would we rather deal with a Chuck Schumer or would we rather deal with AOC? If we had to pick who was going to be in charge of Democrats, would we want Chuck Schumer or would we want AOC? Now, what do I mean by that exactly? Well, this socialist that obviously pulled off an upset in regards to the primary for Democrats running to be the next mayor of New York City, he's AOC times 2. Okay? I think that's a fair assessment. And if he becomes the mayor of the largest city of this country, you can go ahead and book this, all right? Democrats are going to become exactly what he is. To you, I want you to take a look at this study. I want you to take a look at this survey from CNN.
More a New York City thing, or is this more of a sign of a larger national trend when it comes to the Democratic Party?
Yeah, just like AOC's victory in 2018, this did happen locally, but I think you can take it up nationally. What are we talking about here? Well, you know, you think about Democratic establishment, you think about Democratic Party leaders, pretty much all of them were behind Andrew Cuomo, but the bottom line is the Democratic base is fed up, done with the Democratic establishment. This is true in New York. It's true nationally. Democrats who say their party leaders should be replaced. Look at this. This is a recent poll from Reuters Ipsos. 62% of Democrats nationally say their party leaders should be replaced. Party leaders like Andrew Cuomo, party leaders like Jim Clyburn, who of course endorsed Andrew Cuomo. You think about all the Democrats that were behind Andrew Cuomo in the establishment. The Democratic base is fed up with them. And the bottom line is nationally, the vast majority of Democrats think that their party leaders should be replaced. But it's more than this, right? Of course, Mamdani ran a left Pretty far left campaign, right, compared to what we normally see in Democratic circles. But the bottom line is, you talked to me 20, 30 years ago, there was no way I thought a Democratic socialist could win a nomination for mayor in New York or nationally. But look, Democrats who identify as liberal nationally, in 1994 was 25%. You go to 2004, 33%, 2014, 43%. Now the majority of Democrats nationally identify as liberal. If there are Democratic establishment folks who think this is just going to be contained in New York, I say this is a warning sign to you. It very much may not be.
This is not just a warning sign for Democrats, okay? It's a warning sign for people like you and me and anybody else involved in politics. We have to understand what's going on here. This guy is a socialist lunatic. I'm not being hyperbolic. I will support my statement with clips that I am going to show you where he is clearly saying things that are dangerous for this country. I am all for Democrats who can find bipartisanship, exercise common sense. Even if we disagree, they don't mind disagreement. Democrats who are willing to stand up to their own party. I'm in support of that. What I'm not in support of is people that are like AOC, okay? And people like AOC exist because there are fringes in our country. That's number one. And number two, they seem to be very populist driven, but their ideas are destructive to this country. Now, to back up my statement, so you know I'm not just blowing smoke, listen to Mamdani himself say this.
Police force should not be assisting ICE. Defund the NYPD and refund all of these different social services. And I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce.
How many more New Yorkers? How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers will that toll? Do you believe in the First Amendment?
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich. What I hear in so many is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights in standing up for Palestinian human rights. And I think what's difficult also is that the very word has been used by the Holocaust Museum when translating the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising into Arabic, because it's a word that means struggle.
The mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
So I'm going to show.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. You know, this guy is amazing, and that's the Democrat nominee for mayor. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in November. But I guess New York is a little bit like Indianapolis. Our mayor race is in like an off year. It's weird that happens. An off year from like the presidential election or even the midterm congressional elections. But yeah, we have that. Ours was in 2023 here, our mayor election, and we got a Democrat mayor here in Indianapolis. Although our representatives in the House are Republican. So I don't know, maybe this is just some sleight of hand thing, and Republicans tend to be a little bit lazy when it comes out for voting, unless, of course, it's something like really important, like Donald Trump. You seem to get plenty of votes for that. But I don't know. And Democrat socialist, you know, the Democrat, and so that's so easily put together. At least that's the way they talk. A Democrat socialist. I've never heard of Republican socialist. Have you? So that's kind of weird. I guess Democrat and socialist must go hand in hand, pretty close together, because it's so easy for them, whoever them is, to associate a Democrat socialist, those two words together. I don't know. But as you can see here, this does come from Devory Darkins. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, getting back here. Let's come on down. I have some information from Doug in Exile. They got busted again. Well, let's take a listen to this and see what that's all about.
Back to the auto pen scandal. Anthony Bernal is Jill Biden's guy. He originally said he would testify, and then he's retracting that, chickening out, hiding, so he's going to get subpoenaed. Welcome to Doug in Exile, as we have been uncovering the auto pen scandal for over a year. I hope you've subscribed so you don't miss out on this kind of news. We may not always be right, but we're always first. All right, welcome. Let's watch.
Hey guys, that's right. Jill Biden's right-hand man, Anthony Bernal, is refusing to appear before the House Oversight Committee today. Bernal is known for being Jill Biden's quote-unquote work husband, and he said yesterday that
look at this guy. Guilty. There doesn't need to be a trial. That's the face of a guilty man. That's my opinion on it.
Would not sit down for a closed-door interview with the committee. His decision comes after lawmakers say he previously agreed to do so. Committee Chairman James Comer putting out this statement saying, quote, now that the White House has waived executive privilege, it is abundantly clear that Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden's so-called work husband, never intended to be transparent about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. I will promptly issue a subpoena to compel Anthony Bernal's testimony before the committee. But former Biden aide Neera Tanden did testify to the committee on Tuesday, and a source confirmed to Fox that she did admit to being authorized to direct auto pen signatures. Now, that auto pen replicated Biden's signature on documents like pardons, memos, and more. But Tanden was not sure who gave the final approval. A new Fox News poll shows that 52% of Americans believe it's important for Congress to investigate the use of Biden's auto pen, and 50% want to investigate Biden advisors who made key decisions. Meanwhile, the committee is still waiting to hear from Biden's former doctor, Kevin O'Connor, in addition to 2 other former advisors. President Trump has also instructed the Justice Department to launch a separate investigation into the alleged cover-up. Guys.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get these guys. Guys, it's all falling apart. Once they start ratting each other out, you just got to pin them against the wall. You got to shake them down a little bit. Good cop, bad cop. And then you get the testimony you need, but mostly you need them to rat each other out. We're going to get to more of that in just a minute. Here's James Comer's official Twitter feed where he has the documents up. Signed, sealed, and delivered, he writes, Jill Biden's work husband. Why do you imply that she has another husband? What was his job on Jill Biden if he was her work husband? Probably not to mow their yard. Jill Biden's work husband, Anthony Bernal, he's the guy that has the guilty face, must appear before GOP oversight. Let the subpoena send a clear message to Biden's inner circle. We will stop at nothing to expose the truth about Joe Biden's decline and unauthorized use of the auto pen. There's the subpoena. Signed down there by Comer. For Anthony Bernal, you're going to come in and you're going to get interviewed and shaken down. Okay, now here's that gal once again that they talked about earlier. This is Kyle Becker over on Explain America. Here's the White House staffer who is really running the Biden presidential campaign, Neera Tanden. By the way, you guys have seen this girl before. I'm going to show you where she's showing up because I didn't recognize her at first. And then my pal here, Nerk News, is sitting right over there helping me out. And he does a lot of Scott Jennings stuff. You'll recognize her in a minute.
A brief comment. Thank you. I just spoke with the House Oversight Committee, Majority and Minority Council. I answered every question, was pleased to discuss my public service, and it was a thorough process, and I'm glad I answered every question.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Look at this face. Guilty. Also guilty. You know, she was doing all that words, and you know what my spider senses were saying? All I could hear, it was like translated, guilty, guilty, guilty. I'm guilty. I did it. I'm guilty. Don't send me to jail.
Was there an effort to disguise President Biden's condition?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Yeah. And off she goes. Goodbye, everybody. That's all you're going to get. Now, you've seen her before. I'm just going to show you this quick clip. This is a Scott Jennings clip. In case you don't recognize her, that's her going toe-to-toe with Scott Jennings. Look at her. You've seen her before.
Where soldiers are possibly lost. It is pretty inexcusable that he has not been briefed and he can't speak to it.
And what's worse, a president not having all the information he needs to make a legitimate comment, so he holds back in the moment before being ready to make a comment, or, I don't know, willfully lying to the American people about the condition of the president of the United States.
Oh, look at the leaning, look at the face, the painful face. Leaning and learning about what? She, as soon as this clip was over, she went right back and started signing on behalf of the president, all those executive orders. This is probably the lady that released all those murderers, who knows what. And Biden had no idea. She's going, I'm running the country. Little did you guys know that a CNN spokesperson, a talent that Scott Jennings gone against, that she is the person person that all those Democrats voted for. They voted for Joe Biden, but really, she is executing her garbage authority to overthrow the country so that no one will know about Biden's decline. She's like, oh, thank goodness he's a vegetable, so I can execute my authority. No one knows who the president was yet. She won't tell you even. That's all I want to know. Who was the president? Who was in charge? Here's more on that from these people who I don't know who they are over on Newsmax.
All right, so if Biden's inner circle is not guilty of covering up his mental decline and his shady use of the auto pen, they are doing a terrible job of acting like it.
Yeah, they sure are, right? I mean, that's something that I think James Comer has been really interested in trying to uncover, just who was running the country. And it's a question that none of us still have any answers to, right? I mean, Neera Tanden said that she was using the auto pen, that she was authorized by people who were not necessarily Joe Biden to do that. And I think it's important to ask who else was doing that and exactly what documents were these that were signed and implemented across the United States that were not, authorized and implemented by the president.
Which ones were authorized by that CNN spokeslady?
Who's doing this? And that is, of course, what Comer is trying to uncover.
I think there's something else we can agree upon here, Libby, and that is that the term work husband and work wife is just ick.
Yeah, it's gross. That was my first response too. Work husband, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's super cringe, right? I mean, and I think that's certainly something that spouses at home don't want to hear about either, that you have someone at work that you're confiding in more, that you're taking all your lunches with, that you're winking at across the room when something weird happens. That's, I think that's a kind of emotional cheating that we shouldn't be dealing with here.
Yeah, if my wife has another work husband at work, I'd kind of like to know who that guy is so I could take care of him in the parking lot. And the beloved Miss Tenaple would not tolerate me having a work wife. Those are sacred terms. And of course, the Bidens, they're liberals. These are liberals are feminists, and that means that they absolutely despise traditional roles of husbands and wives, and the idea that that is exclusive and the idea that that is sacred. So they disrespect it even with their naming conventions as they throw America under the bus and have a CNN host running the country. Here's more.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there and show you that this does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. But, this auto pen thing, I don't know if anything will come out. If anything, anybody will be punished for this. Who knows? This is the first time this has happened. So I don't know. Are there laws against this? I don't know. Or are they just making a big hoopla about it? I mean, what's done is done. I know the argument is, well, a lot of this stuff that he did could be overturned. Well, Trump's doing that already. So, quit wasting our frickin' time and money. All right? Let's get back here to the description box and the layout of the program. Wendy Bell, thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay? All right, well, let's get over here and see what attention she's talking about. Let me get this back here. There we go. I think I want to start this up just before the break going into her second hour. She's got some information about Pete Hegseth. And as usual, Wendy gets just a little bit emotional here. Let's put it that way.
The whole rub that the Trump administration has right now with quote unquote mainstream media. CNN had an opportunity to look by way of a leaker, which is at face value so traitorous. It's so treasonous that someone either in the Democratic Party or in the military complex thought it was prudent to undermine the news of such a huge military victory. I had no idea that this strike, which is so much like, it's so much like Star Wars, right? What is it? Is that the fourth one, the first one where they got to go in? I forget which one it is, where Luke Skywalker has to bomb the thing, the Death Star, and he's got to hit it at just the right spot. Brock, you know better than I do.
That's number 4.
Number 4. Okay, so which is really the first one.
Correct.
Right. So, it's that. That's what they literally thought about for 15 years. And they're going to walk through. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs is going to walk through the backstory on that bombing mission. It wasn't just some okay, let's give it a whirl. 15 years. And to hear a leaker drop some sort of garbage line suggesting that perhaps it wasn't such a devastating hit. And for CNN to joyfully gobble up that morsel without proving it, without doing its due diligence at all, but just running with it because they're so interested in smearing this president. They are so interested in kneecapping the accomplishments of conservative leadership that they will lie morning, noon, and night to you. And Pete Hegseth, as a former TV guy, is well aware of all the worst offenders, and he calls one out yesterday. And it's his former colleague from Fox News. She is a liberal woman. She is, when I listen to her, I see a very sharp, cold, toxic person who is antithetical to the whole vibe at Fox. And she asks him about all of the uranium. So he's giving this press conference. Are you sure you got all of the uranium? Are you sure they didn't move anything? And he just unloads. Listen.
It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect. But Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here. And I appreciate that. So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
He says, Jennifer, you are one of the worst. I know, I used to work with you, he's thinking in his head. And I heard audio from Tucker Carlson this morning, where he is concurring. She is one of the worst. She is an absolute Trump-hating liberal. Why the hell does she have a job as the Pentagon reporter at Fox News of all places? Well, she wants to, are you absolutely sure that you got 100%? There is no absolute certainty about anything. Could they have moved something? I don't know. But you know what? You know who moved in with the certainty, who dropped the hammer? President Trump. This is what he tweeted out or truthed out yesterday, because some of the media were like, well, we've seen some satellite pictures of all the cars lined up before the hit. Looks like they're offloading some stuff and maybe going somewhere. And he's like, no, not at all. He says the cars and small trucks at the site were those of concrete workers trying to cover up the top of the shafts. Nothing was taken out of the facility. Would take too long. It would be too dangerous, very heavy, and hard to move. You've got the president of the United States having to neutralize your legacy media, whose rabid number one priority is to do anything to make him or anybody who loves making America great again look foolish. Don't fall for it. Hour 2, the media are the enemies of the truth. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty, here we're going to move this forward to about the 1 hour and 6 minute mark. That's when she's going to come back from her break and start the second half hour. Let's see what we got.
Get up.
She's doing a commercial.
Listeners can get up, vote me, and
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, she's got a long introduction here. Let's go to the party.
This is the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Wendy Bell radio program is on the clock. You know, I'm going to say this to you right now. I don't believe after his stint as the Secretary of Defense, I do not see Pete Hegseth ever going back to media. I really don't. It's sort of like when my family was at Disney World and we were over at MGM Studios and they had the Tower of Terror. And it's this like Twilight Zone themed ride where you go up and then it drops you and it bounces you up and it drops you again. And it's like, ah! And it's totally freaky and all of the things are meant. And then, of course, somebody fudged up the ride and they had to stop it. And all the lights came on and we had to be escorted out to walk down a stairwell. And my son Jack was like, that ruins the magic, because you got to see all of the machinations of what made the thing work. Right? You got to see how the sausage was made. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, okay, it's not the same anymore, right? Once you see the dirty secrets of something, kind of the thrill is gone. I think Pete Hegseth, in his role as basically the head of the United States military, to see what his old job was after he left the military, joining Fox, becoming a journalist, right? How would he ever be able to go back? Seeing what he sees, being privy now at a front row seat to how the media actually makes the sausage and how dirty it is and how nasty it is and how negative it is and how fake it is. Like, how would you ever go back? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how we would. I don't know how I ever would. Because there's no way after you know, after you see, after you've done something, there's no way to go back to be part of something that is just so corrupt as the mainstream media. And there's a reason why I have entitled this particular segment of today's program. Basically, the media are our greatest enemies of truth. So here you're going to have Pete Hegseth. They have this joint press conference, right? At the Pentagon. And he's standing and he's got Dan Raisin Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, general, right? And they're talking about this truly mind-bending mission that, based on what they're telling us, could not have gone any better if they tried. And yet, all along the way, 30-odd hours of this mission, nobody knows about what really happened. And so they start telling the details. Well, as they're speaking and telling the details, they open it up to questions. And the questions are exactly what you'd think from CNN and MSNBC, and even that Fox chick, Jennifer Griffin. And finally, Pete Hegseth reaches his froth. He's like, you guys have no freaking idea. You have no clue about the people who are behind this operation. You have no appreciation of the military. You have absolutely no indication about how dangerous our adversaries are. You play this song and dance every day, worrying about your hair and makeup on television, and you won't even read the briefs that we're giving you. But you will cherry pick stuff that's leaked to you from people who are dubious, traitorous sources. He lost it. And I think I agree. I understand. So I want you to hear this ridiculous question that he gets asked, not about the remarkable 120-second make or break, do or die pivotal moment that some young person in a B-2 bomber had to be a part of to go bombs away, and then it's got to hit an area the size of a refrigerator or a washing machine. I mean, think about that. In this giant machine with these monster mega bombs. And you're like, and now I want you to hear what this reporter in the press briefing room had to say, wanted to know, because Pete Hegseth was so proud of the boys. So proud. Why does he address the military as our boys? Isn't that a little misogynistic? I swear to God. I wanted to reach through the camera and throat punch this woman and throw her down the stairs. Listen.
Why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission. The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games.
Oh my gosh, it's exhausting. Do you not understand what we just accomplished? We just took out, we neutered, much to the relief of the entire planet. We neutralized their ability to terrorize, dangle. Oh yeah? Well, we have uranium. Well, why do you say our boys if there's females in the military? You're fired. Get out. Honest to God, I would throw her out 100%. And he's like, look at what you guys pay attention to. And it continues directly to the press corps. He has reached his boiling point. Boiling point. You media people, you are the problem. Go.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
It's disgusting. And you deserve all to be called out for it. This is on live international television. Calling them out. And specifically calling out the liberal brand of toxicity in Jennifer Griffin over at Fox News as the Pentagon reporter. Why haven't any of you done any stories about the ridiculous background of this mission? You guys are only worried about one stupid thing, and it was a leak that was wrong. And you missed the majesty, the historic and heroic nature of a job that no other military in the world could have done.
How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
And all of them glom onto the same story. It's follow the leader. It's walk collectively off the cliff. Absolutely. It's the same thing New York City is doing. It's the same thing the Democratic Party is doing, putting all of its eggs in a socialist's basket and saying, we really like his ideas. Oh my goodness. Do you know how that ends? Pete Hegseth continues. He's like, look, you're connected to our military in this press room in ways the American public is not. And look at what you do. Can you ever be proud? Can you ever be proud of anything that President Trump is a part of?
Folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities?
100%. And finally, he says, we know you're fake. We know you lie, but you cannot demean this historically successful action that makes the whole world safer.
I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is, you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years.
Now, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, do not go anywhere.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and pause that here. Let me click. And if you want to see more of it, the link to this video is in the description box below. So you can just go ahead and scroll down there and click on it and watch the rest of it. There's like an hour and 45 minutes left. But let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio.
A nuclear program.
I am following her channel, and I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's get back here and share this page again for the description box. And here again is the link to her video and the link to all the videos that I shared here. I'm sharing this information directly from the producer's channel. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out. I do it to give people a good range of information from a wide variety of people. And I don't know if you saw on the screen there, I've got the chats that kind of display on the screen over on the top right side of the screen. And I got a chat here from Gamer JM, and it came from Locals. He's watching this on, I'm sorry, not Locals, on Twix. And this is, one of the reasons that I share on Twitch, rather. One of the reasons that I share this on Rumble, do my videos on Rumble, is because I can simultaneously broadcast this out to other platforms like Locals and YouTube and Facebook till I got I can't post for a while on Facebook because of nudity, that somebody complained about nudity in my videos, and I just don't know what that was all about. But also on X. But anyway, Gamer JM, I don't know if you can see that chat, but his chat says, everybody understands that reopen the economy is just code for kicking people off unemployment. Really? I was on unemployment once for about 3 weeks, and I wanted to get off of unemployment because at that time when I was unemployment, I could make more money even at minimum wage than what I could on unemployment. But now unemployment pays so much that, you're better off being on unemployment. But most people that are on unemployment, that is like a safety basket for you so that you can have some income for like groceries and things like that until you're able to find a job to make decent money. But he says capitalism has always forced people to choose risking their health or homelessness or starvation. Okay, starvation, but it's reached a cruel new height because we want to reopen the economy and get people decent jobs so people can go back to work and they don't have to be on unemployment. I wonder if Gamer JM is like just taking a break from playing games in his parents' basement right now, sitting there collecting unemployment, able-bodied, probably could go out and get a decent job, but he would rather stay in the basement and play games and then, talk about capitalism, wanting to reopen the economy, is wanting to risk people's health and cause starvation. I don't know. Explain to me, folks. Give me. I'm lost here. Give me some help in the comments or a chat or whatever, but I'm totally confused on this. At any rate, again, this information here comes directly from the producer that created it, and I even have a link to their channel here so you can look at other information that they've done. Let's check out these chats. Now, this chat didn't come through here on my Rumble chat, but you could see it on the screen. Let me go ahead and copy the Rumble chats and put them in a comment here, mostly from Debbie BS. I did tell her hello. There we go. All right, got the chats in there. Let me give that a comment. Let me do a quick refresh on this. All right, and there we go. All right, got. Okay, it looks like I've had 116 people watch this video so far. I've got 17 people watching right now, and I've got 4 thumbs up. So if I could get 13 of you to slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. And also, let me know what you think about capitalism means risking people's health and starvation. Okay, coming over here to Murtech.com, these videos that I shared with you are 4 of the videos that I've posted here on Murtech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. And as I said in my daily news wrap-up, there will be some information in there about the Supreme Court, the decisions that were made today, and it seems like they definitely went in our favor, in Trump's favor, make America great favor. So that is fantastic. I'll be coming back about 9:30 with that information, so go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink. Give me a chance to get my playlist all updated. Right now I have over 70 videos in there. I'll probably have over 80 by the time we get this started about 9:30. But for right now, I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you later, and may God bless.